Hi everybody, this is Algebra 2, Lesson 19, and the first part of this lesson is about value word problems. Alright, and these are going to be coin problems. So our first example, I'm on page 94, doing 19.1, and it says, Caramunga had 50 nickels and dimes whose value was $4. How many of each kind of coin did he have? Alright, so he had 50 nickels and dimes, so the number of nickels plus the number of dimes equals 50. That's how many total coins he had. So the number of nickels plus the number of dimes is 50 coins. Now we're gonna assign a value to these. So if nickels are worth 5 pennies, we're gonna do pennies as our base. We could say the number of nickels times 5 plus 10 times the number of dimes, because dimes are worth 10 cents, they're 10 pennies, equals, this said $4, so how many pennies would that be? 400 pennies. Okay. If we just said it was equal to $4, then we would have to make the number of nickels be 0.05, and then this would be 0.10. That would be way more confusing than it needs to be, so we're just going to use pennies as our base. So we're going to say 5 times the number of nickels plus 10 times the number of dimes equals 400. And then we have the number of nickels plus the number of dimes is 50. So all we have to do is rearrange this equation, and then we're going to use substitution to solve. So we're going to say the number of nickels equals 50 minus the number of dimes. See how I just moved that to the other side of the equation. Change sides, change signs. So I said minus ND minus ND. And I'll change that equation around. Now I can substitute in this value every time I come to an N in my problem. So 5 times the number of nickels, which equals 50 minus the number of dimes, plus 10 times the number of dimes equals 400. Now I'm going to rainbow this. 5 times 5 is 25, so that'd be 250, minus 5 times the number of dimes, plus 10 times the number of dimes equals 400. Now I'm going to combine my like terms, so 10 minus 5 is 5, so 250, plus 5 times the number of dimes equals 400. Now I'm going to subtract 250 on each side. And I'm going to get 5 times the number of dimes equals, let's see, 0, 10 minus 5 is 5, 3 minus 2 is 1, 150. Now I'm going to divide by 5. And my number of dimes is going to be equal to, see, 30. So I've got 30 dimes. Okay, so now to solve for my number of nickels, all I have to do is substitute this value in to one of these. So I can say the number of nickels plus number of dimes, which is 30, equals 50. And then I'm going to subtract 30 on both sides, and I'm going to come up with the number of nickels equals 20. And we could multiply this out to find out and make sure that we're right. So we could say the number of nickels are worth 5 cents. So if we had 20 nickels times 5, we're going to have $1. And then we have 30 dimes. So 30 times 10, we're going to have $3. And if we add those together, we'll get $4, which is what it said we had in the original problem. All right, let's do another one. This pen's running out, so I'm going to swap over to my purple. 19.2. All right, the fishmonger sold codfish for 6 pence each and mussels for 1 pence each. If Harriet bought a total of 26 items and spent 86 pence, how many codfish did she buy? Okay, so we're going to have the number of codfish plus the number of mussels equals, this is the total amount of things that she bought. She bought 26 items, so that equals 26. Okay? And then we're going to say she spent 86 cents, 86 pence, and it said that codfish are 6 pence. So 6 times the number of codfish plus mussels are 1. So 1 times the number of mussels equals 86. Okay? We don't have to write that 1 right there. All right, so we're going to rearrange this problem. This equation at the top here, we're going to rearrange that so that we can substitute a value into the second equation. So we're going to say number of codfish equals 26 minus the number of mussels. Okay? So all I did was move that to the other side. All right, so then I'm going to say 6. Number of codfish is my value right here. So 26 minus number of mussels equals 86. Oh, whoops, forgot a step. Plus, forgot that part, the number of mussels equals 86. There we go. Now we're going to do this. So 26 times 6. 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14, 15. 156 minus 6 times the number of mussels plus the number of mussels equals 86. All right, when we put these together, we're going to have 156 minus 5 times the number of mussels equals 86. All right, so now we're going to subtract 156. Negative 5 times the number of mussels equals 70. Be negative 70, and then we got to divide by negative 5. And the number of mussels, actually I'm going to write up here, number of mussels equals 70 divided by 5, 14. So it's just like substitution that we've been doing before. You just have to figure out how to set up the problem from what they give you in the word problem. All right, so now that we know the number of mussels is 14, we can just plug that into any one of these. So we can say the number of codfish plus 14, which is the number of mussels, equals 26. And then we could subtract 14. And we get the number of codfish equals 212. And that's the answer. And then if we multiply this back out, we could make sure that we were right. So if she had 12 codfish at 6 cents each, that would be 72. And then if she had 14 at 1 cent each, add 14 more cents, and we get 86 is the total amount that she spent. 14 plus 12 is 26 items. Okay? All right, that's all the example they give you on that one. The next part seems like it's complicated, but it's really pretty easy. This is A means A. And basically what this is talking about is when you have similar triangles, and we have an angle here, and there. We have another triangle that's bigger, and it tells us that this angle is equal to that angle, and this angle is equal to that angle. That means that this third angle has to be equal to this third angle. Okay? We're going to prove that later in a different lesson, but obviously if this angle is the same and that angle is the same, then this angle has to be the same as that one. Okay? So it means angle, angle. If you have two angles that are the same, then the third angle has to be the same. So if we have two angles that are the same, then all three angles must be the same. Alright, so how's that going to look on a problem? Alright, so we've got a line that goes like this, and a line that goes like that, and then that goes down like that. I'm trying to draw this thing, but it's kind of difficult. Alright, and then this one goes like that. So basically, these are two triangles that are kind of connected together here. And it tells us that this angle and this angle are the same. It also tells us that this angle is the same as this angle. So basically, this is a similar triangle to that, but it's flipped upside down. Alright, and then it's going to give us some values. 5, 4, 7, 6 right there. And then we got y and x. And it tells us to find y and x. Alright, so what do we got that is actually the same here? Well, this angle represents this side. So that means if this angle is the same, it's representing that side. These two are congruent. Okay, those two are going to be proportional to each other. Alright, if this one is representing the 7, that means this one is going to be representing y. Okay, now the angle means angle. The AA means AAA. Tells us that this third angle has to be the same. Actually, I'm going to use a different color for that. Tells us that this one has to be the same as this one. Because if the two angles are the same, that means the third one. And that is equal to this 5. So that means this one, the 5, would be congruent to the x. Okay? Alright, so we can set up a scale factor here by saying 4 times the scale factor equals 6. So 4 times our scale factor equals 6. And I like to set that up as 4s equals 6. Divide by 4, divide by 4. So our scale factor is equal to 6 over 4, which would be the same thing as 3 over 2. Okay? Now, if I want to solve for y, y is right here, and its opposite angle is this one with the 2 tick marks. That means that's this one. That means it's opposite the 7. So I'm going to say 7 over 1 times my scale factor, which would be 3 over 2, is equal to y. So now just multiply this out. 3 times 7 is 21 over 2 equals y. So y is 21 over 2. Now I'm going to go for my x. And x is this angle. So that's this third angle. That's going to be 5. So my x and my 5 are related. So I'm going to say 5 over 1 times my scale factor, which is 3 over 2, equals x. Now just multiply. 3 times 5 is 15 over 2 equals x. So we just solve for x and y. And basically all that's telling you is that if two angles are the same, then the third one has to be the same. Okay, so that's it for the example problems. Go ahead and do the practice problems. Pause the video, do the practice problems, and then I'll work them out for you. Okay, so we're going to start with A. And A says, Florence had 80 nickels and dimes whose value is $6.50. How many of each kind of coin did she have? Okay, so we're going to say 80 nickels and dimes. So the number of nickels plus the number of dimes is going to be equal to 80. That's the total amount that she had, the total number. All right, nickels are worth 5 cents. So 5 times the number of nickels plus dimes are worth 10. 10 times the number of dimes equals $6.50. How many pennies will be in $6.50? 650. Okay, that way we don't have any decimals in there. Now I'm just going to rearrange this one. So it's going to say the number of nickels equals 80 minus the number of dimes. Now I'm going to plug this value in when I get to number of nickels. So I'm using substitution. 5 times 80 minus the number of dimes. Okay, so that's that. Plus 10 times the number of dimes equals 650. Now I'm going to rainbow this. Times 5 is 40, so that'd be 400. Minus 5 times the number of dimes plus 10 times the number of dimes equals 650. Oops. Okay, then I'm going to add my like terms. So I get 400 plus 5 times the number of dimes. So I said 10 minus 5 equals 650. Now I am going to subtract 400 on both sides. And I'm going to get 5 times the number of dimes equals 650, we're going to get 0, 5, 250. Now I'm going to divide by 5. And I'm going to say my number of dimes equals, let's see, 550. So I've got 50 dimes. 50 dimes will be $5. Alright, now I just need to solve for my number of nickels. So number of nickels plus my number of dimes, which is 50, equals 80. And that's going to be minus 50. My number of nickels is going to be equal to 30. And I can prove that this is right by saying 30 times 5 would be $1.50. And then 50 times 10 cents each would be $5. And I'm going to add them together, and I'm going to get $6.50, which is what they said in the original problem. Okay? All right, now we'll do B. Roses sold for 12 pence each, and daffodils for 4 pence each. If Jim bought 35 flowers and spent 300 pence, how many daffodils did he buy? So we're only trying to find the number of daffodils. All right. Roses sold for 12 pence each and daffodils for 4. Jim bought 35 flowers and spent 300 pence. So the number of roses plus the number of daffodils is going to be the total number of flowers that he bought, which is 35 flowers. Okay. Now, roses cost 12 pence, so 12 times the number of roses plus 4 for daffodils, 4 times the number of daffodils equals the amount of money that he spent, which was 300 pence. They try to make it confusing, but it's not. All right. So now I just have to rearrange this problem and say the number of roses equals 35 minus the number of daffodils, and then I'm just going to plug that value in. So 12 times 35 minus the number of daffodils plus 4 times the number of daffodils equals 300. Now I'm going to multiply, so 35 times 12, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 3 is 6, 7, 5, 3, add 420 minus 12 times the number of daffodils, let's get rid of that, plus 4 times the number of daffodils equals 300. Let me double check, make sure I did everything. That was 420. That was 12 times the number of daffodils, 4. All right. Now I'm going to combine like terms, so 12 and 4, so I got 420. And then negative 12, positive 4 is going to be negative 8 equals 300. Now I'm going to subtract 420. I'm going to get negative 8 times the number of daffodils equals negative 120 divided by negative 8. Let's see, 8, 8, 4 is 12, 40, 15. So the number of daffodils is 15. So 15 daffodils. And now I'm just going to plug that value in. So the number of roses plus 15, number of daffodils is 15, equals 35. Now I'm going to subtract 15 on both sides. And we're going to get the number of roses equals 20. Okay, and I can double check this and make sure I'm right by saying, okay, so she bought 15 daffodils, which costs, let's see, we have a total of 35 items. We bought 15 daffodils, which cost 12 each. Which would be 180. And she bought 20. Wait, roses cost 12 each. I totally messed that up. Okay. 15 daffodils, and daffodils cost 4 each. So 15 times 4, which would be 60. And then 20 roses, and they were 12 cents each. So 12 times 20. 240 plus 60 equals 300. Okay, double checked and made sure that was right. All right. So now we're going to do C. I have to draw a little picture here. So we've got this and this. And that one goes about like that. And then that one goes about like that. Actually, let me make this one a little smaller. There we go. Okay, and this are equal, and this is equal to this, and this one's 4, 5, 3, 5, y, and x. Okay. Alright, so if this angle and this angle are equal, that means this and this are going to be proportional. That's going to be how we're going to get our scale factor. So we're going to say 3 times our scale factor equals 5. So 3s equals 5. Divide by 3, divide by 3. Our scale factor equals 5 over 3. Okay. Alright, so now we're trying to find x and y. So for x, here, that's relative to that angle with the 2 tick marks. So that means this one, its opposite side is 5. So x and 5 go together. So we're going to say x equals 5 times our scale factor. So we're going to put that over 1, which is 5 over 3. 5 times 5 is 25. So the first one is x equals 25 over 3. All right, and then y. Now we know that our last one has to be equal to this one. That's going to be the 4 and the y. Okay, so y equals 4 times our scale factor, which is 5 over 3. 5 times 4 is 20 over 3. So y should be equal to 20 over 3. Let me double check that, make sure. 25 over 3, and 20 over 3. Yep. All right, so your homework is going to be lesson 19. If you have any questions, just message me. If you did not send me a picture of your homework for the last lesson, which was lesson 17, just bring it to class on Wednesday. And so do this homework and bring it to class on Wednesday. Alrighty, thanks, bye.